There's no vigil for him. Ah, fuck it. Let's get to Germany.
Hanging out in Germany, swinging over the abyss. A good metaphor for German politics these days. The high wire act of the ruling coalition has come crashing down. And Berlin, the home of the highest swing in Europe, is the scene of a political ride into the unknown.
Wait, they let you swing? They let you swing like that? What if you just let go? What the fuck? What the hell? I think there's a harness. No thanks. You're strapped in, dumbass. What if you open the buckle?
Don't be fooled by the tiny number of far-right demonstrators. Come down here, this man screams to the local residents, staring them down. Yes, the thugs are outnumbered by both police and the counter-protesters 100 to 1. But their anti-immigration and pro-Russian vibe has seeped into the political mainstream, pulling the tiller of Europe's largest economy further to the right. Over at the Reichstag, the vote of no confidence has passed, as expected. New elections in late February, and a campaign fueled by Angst, a German word for good reason these days. There are fears about economic decline, the war in Ukraine, more German arms or fewer, and of course the high number of migrants and asylum seekers. The Assad regime has fallen right into the heart of Germany's political turmoil. Within hours, pending asylum applications were frozen. The far-right AfD wants the next government to go much further. The refugee crisis has helped the party climb to second place in the polls. Unthinkable until recently. But their leader, Alice Weidel, doesn't do spontaneous.
No, sorry. So we got this question now on Olaf Scholz. You need to get an appointment, okay?
Instead, we were given her chief whip.
Die müssen raus, die sollen natürlich sicher sein, die müssen sozusagen in sichere Bereiche kommen.
I wonder who he's talking about when he says they need to get out. I wonder who the they is. I can't tell.
Sicher sein, die müssen sozusagen in sichere Bereiche kommen, aber das ist ja so ein Riesenbereich um Syrien herum, wo sie auch wieder zurück könnten. Das sollte die deutsche Regierung versuchen.
Would you force them back to Syria?
Deportation ist ein Begriff, den wir überhaupt nicht verwenden. Das ist ein Nazi-Begriff und Zwangsdeportation gibt es für uns überhaupt nicht. Zum Schluss auch mit Abschiebung, natürlich. Das ist Teil des deutschen...
Wait, what? Woke Nazi. Woke Nazi. Woke Nazi alert. Dude, Germany is so funny. It's the funniest country on the planet, but also very scary. Make no mistake. Very scary. Like, I do like laughing at Germany because I think it is the most autistic country on the planet. It's like Germany and Japan. Okay. But also, they are, on the one side, they are incredibly they're super right wing. I mean, these guys are Nazis, but you can't say you're a Nazi in Germany because it's illegal. So they're literally like, oh, dude, we can't. I mean, I would never say deportation. That's a Nazi term. But what I will say is demigration, which is the exact same thing as deportation. But like, we just use a different name. It's like the... It's like the AfD not being able to use the Nazi banner because it's illegal. So like AfD supporters early on would always use like, what was it? It was like the other old German banner, like before the Nazi flag, as a way to basically repackage the same shit. Yeah, the Imperial German flag. Rather than the Nazi flag. It's like, come on, we're not We're not Nazis. We want to do remigration, not deportation. That's different.
Zum Schluss auch mit Abschiebung, natürlich. Das ist Teil des deutschen Rechtssystems, auch des europäischen Rechtssystems. Rückführung, Abschiebung. Abschiebung ist der fachliche Begriff bei der Polizei.
Dude, that sounds way scarier. What do you mean? Repatriation and forced removal? You just somehow made deportation sound even scarier, dude. At least the Democrats have terms like, what do they call it? Like detention holdover facilities or whatever, instead of concentration camps.
Polizei.
You don't like the word deportation because of its historical connotations, but whatever you call it, that's the reality for these people, isn't it?
Wenn Sie das Deportation nennen, hat das einen völlig falschen Zungenschlag. Das wollen wir nicht.
Yeah, we're going to be doing concentration camps and deportation, but in a woke way. And you simply don't understand. It's it's very different principle. No, it's the exact same principle, but like we're using, you see, we're using a different word for the exact same thing, okay? I mean, dude, if the Al-Qaeda can go woke, when you can have DEI ISIS, why not DEI Nazis? You know what I mean? Liberalism is the monoculture after all. And yes, I have, with my own eyes, seen woke ISIS, so I might as well see woke Nazis too. Who cares?
This is the man most likely to be the new German Chancellor, the CDU's Friedrich Merz, rich, right-wing and far tougher on asylum seekers than the woman who was his predecessor from the same party. Wir schaffen das, we can do this, Angela Merkel famously declared in 2015 when more than 1 million Syrians flooded into Germany. They called it the Willkommenskultur, the welcome culture, and the trains were cheered. Germany basked in its own.
DEI Hitler's going to be a trans white woman? Close enough. You're wrong. DEI Hitler, as it stands, I believe, is a lesbian white woman. Not trans. So it is on the queer spectrum, but she is on the queer spectrum. Not trans, but, you know. A lesbian woman. Fantastic stuff happening in the world. What a wonderful time to be alive.
Humanity. For Syrian Anas Modamani, this selfie with Mutti, as Merkel was affectionately called, was the beginning of his journey into assimilation. She even featured.
What the fuck is this story, dude?
The moment in her biography. But the fall of Assad won't take Anas away from his settled life in Berlin.
Und jeder Mensch soll selber entscheiden. Also wir waren hier wegen der Krieg ist zu Ende, aber trotzdem haben wir hier über 10 Jahre gelebt, wo wir Steuer bezahlt haben, wo wir Rente bezahlt haben. Wir haben das Recht selber uns, dass wir
Oh, she literally wants that. She's not queer. She's just married to a woman. I love that.
selber entscheiden.
You've got a German passport, you're fine, but what about all those other 600,000 Syrians who have got, asylum status but don't yet have their German passports? Are they worried?
Auf jeden Fall, also ich fühle es, ich habe deutschen Pass, ich mache mich keine Sorge, aber viele Freunde, die auch besser integriert als ich, aber leider wegen der Bürokratie, die deutsche Pass noch nicht bekommen.
He came too close to the sun and then Merkel's kraut-like attitude rubbed off on him. Yeah, he said, I'm good. I'm good. Look at the copy of the Merkel book I'm holding.
Haben.
On a cold Berlin street in the grungy Kreuzberg neighborhood, Razan Rashidi can finally use her real name after decades of fearing reprisals for speaking out against Assad. But the prospect of returning to Syria is full of complexities.
I want to help rebuild my country and rebuild what Assad destroyed and his regime destroyed for over 54 years.
It's a dilemma, isn't it? Because you want to return, or many people want to return, but the situation in Syria is still very fluid. We don't really know what's going to happen there.
Yes. Not maybe with all my family. Maybe I'll go myself and try to be there, but to relocate your whole family somewhere where you have Still, no guarantees and no idea how life would look like is too early to tell.
The Syrian issue is, if anything, a distraction from some much bigger things plaguing Europe's most powerful nation. In all my years of coming here and living here, I have rarely seen it this depressed. Fitting then that the world-famous Berlin Philharmonic is playing Bruckner's Eighth tonight, also known as the Apocalyptic Symphony.
At the moment, I feel like a lot of parties in Germany who are democratic don't really have.
Why do you have to guess what's going to happen in Syria? It's going to be Daesh 3.0. Excuse me. Excuse me. That's the old me, okay? You are fucked up for saying that, okay? HTS leadership, Jelani changed his name. He shaved his beard a little bit, okay? He put on a suit. He's armed with a copy of Why Nations Fail. And he said he's sorry for the beheadings, okay? And I think you're failing to comprehend that rehabilitation happens, okay? In very meaningful ways. He's woke now. Now, as far as I understand, some of the institutions, after being Zelenskyfied, some of the institutions that he is tasked with controlling is still going to be the implementation potentially of morality police. There's obviously not perfect information coming out of Syria even now. And it does seem like they're not doing like mass ethnic cleansing in the way that some suspected that they would, even of the Alawite community. Having said that, however, who knows? Who knows what will happen? I hope for the best for Syria. However, regardless of me hoping for the best for Syria, there are still there is still a tremendous amount of ethnic strife that could take place, where both parties, both sides are in some way, shape, or form still armed by NATO and the American government or America's allies like Turkey. We'll see. There's no morality police. That's misinfo. And that's why I said I don't know, but this is something that I have heard. Jelani, who I believe also changed his name recently, was talking about implementing. We'll see. What I do know is this. It's not like I'll say two things. Number one, not only was Assad ruthless and brutal, but Assad also was not exactly a real threat to Israel. Now, this doesn't mean that he still didn't play ball with Hezbollah and provide logistical support for Hezbollah. Okay, it's Ahmed al-Shara now. Okay. Israel took advantage of the destabilization in Syria by immediately blowing up the remains of the Syrian Navy and the remains of the Syrian Air Force. That's number one. Israel is also seeking to expand into, encroach further into Golan. And I mean, they are basically, the way I see it, taking advantage of the destabilization in Syria and making sure that it's never used as like a launching pad for any sort of anti-America or anti-Israeli action in the region ever again. I see it as like totally cooked. But this is a situation where it's not like Assad was a brave anti-Zionist warrior or anything like that either. Trump says Turkey did an unfriendly takeover in Syria. As U.S. brokered ceasefire appears to fail, Turkish-backed rebels are building up military options near Kurdish towns as U.S. ceasefire appears to crumble. Dude, Joe Biden is the greatest statesman of all time, by the way. I do want to point to this. Yeah, Syria's new leader, Abu Mohammed al-Jilani, has said that he would not allow the country to be used as a launch pad for attacks against Israel or any other state. Guys, I just want to point out something. I know many of you are suspecting that Joe Biden has a foreign policy PhD. No, he doesn't have a foreign policy PhD. He's just that good. That tweet will live in my brain permanently. What a spectacular failure. Joe Biden straight up ran as the guy who was going to bring America back as the global leader, okay? He was going to make up for all of the things that Trump destroyed in terms of like all of the goodwill that America had garnered in times past. He was an elder statesman who knew best, and foreign policy was his special interest. And virtually every single awful thing that could have happened under his watch. So much so that even things that no one else foresaw happened. Like our South Korean allies decided to also fuck around. And his response to that was also hilarious. Like, I don't know, Jack. I'm learning about it. I'm sitting my white ass down and I'm listening. Not to K-pop. I'm learning about it. It's incredible. Like things that you suspect would never, like things that mostly should not happen. Like the incel president of South Korea, who is also simultaneously an incel and a wife guy, doing a fake martial law implementation that failed and collapsed in less than 24 fucking hours, who's now being called to be impeached by even members of his own fucking party. Like, that was our ally. That was our guy. That's the bulwark against communism. How the fuck? How could we have fucked this up so spectacularly? Anyway, to answer the question on everyone's minds, no, Joe Biden does not have a doctorate in foreign affairs. He's just that fucking good. New senior SDF source in Syria. Ceasefire with SNA has just ended. Turkey rejected the Kobani ceasefire proposal and negotiations have collapsed. Significant military... Oh, fuck yeah. Great stuff. Significant military buildups now underway west of Kobani. Very worrying developments. Remember what I said? Immediately after the fucking blitzkrieg? Immediately after the blitzkrieg, that this would, like, HTS and the Turkish-backed coalition forces were not going to implement some kind of stability, but quite the opposite. It's already seemingly happening. Writing in Lebanon's Al Akhbar newspaper, Ibrahim Al-Amin says that HTS informed Palestinian factions present in Syria they can no longer have weapons or training camps in Syria. He says the new powers in Syria are heading towards neutrality in the conflict with Israel. What is this? It's the groups that are stuck by Assad these 13 years, some of whom participated in Yarmouk. Nothing has been said about neutrality either. The writer is a staunch supporter of Hezbollah, so the opinion is expected. I can't speak for this group, but I'm pretty sure... No, there were other people within HTS that have expected to shutter the West Bank operations as well. It's the SNA in the East that's attacking the SDF. HDS is leaving them alone. Trump is kind of right now. Law, but only half. Yes, neutrality as in we're not going to touch Israel and Israel's going to do whatever the fuck it wants, but hopefully they'll let us lead Syria. I think that's where this is going. But Jelani has said on a couple different occasions, Jelani has said that they will maintain some semblance of neutrality with Israel. Meanwhile, Israel has been mercilessly bombing Syria as well. I don't know where this goes. Did Syria have any way out of their civil war without getting fucked? No. That's why even in the beginning, I said that this was a situation where like virtually every party involved is bad with varying degrees of less bad, and that I'm partial only to the SDF in general and the Syrian civilian population. On the one hand, Syria provides a land bridge for Iran for its logistics, right? Iran used Syria, one, to partially engage in weapons development, and also two, I mean, it was basically, look, Hezbollah plays the role of securing Assad's governance, and if Hezbollah plays the role of maintaining security for Assad's governance, then you get to use Syria as a land bridge between Iran and Lebanon. Having said that, however, now that land bridge is effectively destroyed by NATO forces, NATO-aligned forces, NATO-aligned Salafist forces, people that you would normally consider, jihadists, people that Americans often falsely assume all Muslims are like. Okay? It's an eclectic group going from secular forces all the way to straight up former ISIS members, and even fucking ISIS, really, to a certain degree. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, the rebel group ruling Damascus, has ordered armed Palestinian groups in Syria. Yeah, this is what I saw, exactly. Including Hamas and Islamic Jihad, to lay down their weapons, disband their military organizations, and close their training bases, according to the Lebanese newspaper. This is the one that that Scahill was posting about as well. Even though the person that wrote the article is seemingly called into question as like a pro-Hezbollah person, so they might be lying. But I have heard HDS, or I have heard Jelani say similar things. So it does make sense if HDS would officially make their position known, considering that they've said similar things to Western press as well. HDS informed these groups that they can carry out their charitable and political activities under the supervision of the Syrian government, but they are not permitted to use Syrian territory as a passageway or base for military operations against Israel. Is dominated by Islamist forces. The secular forces were the FSA backed by the US, Jordan, and the South, who are a much smaller force who have no real say in this process. No, when I say secular or like Marxist, I'm talking about the Kurdish positions. I'm talking about the SDF, not the FSA backed US Jordanian border forces. And yes, this has been a stunning blow for sure. For logistics between Iran and Hezbollah. That much is clear. That is real. That definitely happened. Please, Hasan, don't believe Hezbollah fans. The Palestinian group was not a resistance force against Israel. They were militias for Bashar. They killed Syrians. Wait, what? No, I've always maintained a different posture when talking about Hezbollah and its defense of Lebanon as a standing military for Lebanon versus Hezbollah's actions in Syria. I think a lot of countries basically use Syria as a training ground. And it's disgusting to think of it like that. But that training ground featured fighting ISIS fighters, but then also oftentimes, fighting against civilians as well. Having said that, however, yes, I think that the HTS, either for for maintaining its control over Syria, or because they're directly involved or with Israel, is not going to allow Syria to be used as any sort of ground for military training for forces that are against Syria. What? Lindsey Graham talking like a motherfucking... Lindsey Graham is Lindsey Graham's statement here is literally akin to like a Turkish minister. My Turkish goat, Lindsey Graham. There are 50,000 ISIS fighters under the control of the Kurdish allies in northern Syria. It is in our national security interest that they do not break out of jail. Senator Lindsey Graham, who sometimes seems to confuse 50,000 ISIS with 2.5 billion barrels of oil worth $200. Oh, never mind. I thought he was saying they're collaborating. I thought he was saying the Kurdish militias are collaborating with ISIS. Never mind. I misunderstood.
There are 50,000 ISIS fighters under the control of Kurdish allies of the United States in northeastern Syria. It is in our national security interest they do not break out of jail and reestablish the caliphate. It is in our national security interest that we help the Kurds who destroy...
Hassan, what was Russia doing there? Russia was also using Syrian ports as a way to treat their ships, as a way to fix their ships up, and also using Syria as a training ground as well. Everybody fucked Syria up, like literally everyone. Every single outside regional actor that is involved in some way, shape, or form has fucked Syria up. And it's almost always it's always the case. The Syrian population is the people that get fucked over in the process. What is this? There's a massive difference between the two of them in the fighting capabilities. Very easy to say, go fight the bad guy when you aren't the people who'd be at risk of getting a bomb through the roof of your house. Okay. Elent News is popping off because this is his forte. Turkey is now pressing Washington to let it deploy 3 commando brigades to replace the SDF in the anti-ISIS mission and to assume responsibility for several detention centers for tens of thousands of ISIS prisoners and their families. That's fucking terrifying. I think, like I said, Erdogan is the clear winner of this entire equation. And I think it is a realignment, not even necessarily a realignment, but like a formalization of allegiances that I've been talking about within Turkey as a NATO asset, as America's most valuable ally in the region, alongside Israel, America's other most valuable ally, or rather a extension of America in the region.